Okay, it is Sunday, July 6th, and we are going to start a project on the Pontiac. I'm going to be changing out the radiator. I've got a nice aluminum rad, and I'm going to swap that in here, and hopefully everything fits. It's a well, you'll see soon enough. It's as wide as, the core is as wide as the tanks here. But this is a two-piece shroud, and this will fit around, hopefully will fit. I might have to do some trimming. That's what holds the rad, and the rad sits in the bottom. So anyhow, we're going to get on this thing here. First step here is going to be drain the coolant. There's a drain plug underneath, pretty straightforward. And we'll get that sorted out. And I'm going to drain it into one of these storage bins. I find that they're the easiest to use. There's no splash, and it'll hold the capacity that I need. So we'll get going with that, and then get that apart and get a radiator in there. So we'll catch up here in a couple minutes. So this rad's nice and easy. It's just a drain plug at the bottom here. I don't know if you can see that, but here we are. Let's probably get a better view. Yeah, so right here, I'll just let that out, and there's some pretty grungy looking coolant in here. Well, at least at the bottom there is. So carry sat overnight. Oof. That's not that in my mouth. That's kind of gross. Here we go. You can see it's not the cleanest looking coolant. We'll let that drain. Get the cap off here. There we go. So, judging by the color of this coolant, I'm going to be making a trip to the, I can't see that here. I'll be making a trip to the auto parts store to get some nice fresh coolant. You can see down there, it's pretty brown. Now that can happen two things. One is mixing it, which I think is what's happened here. Mixing it with red coolant, or might have had green in there, it might have been topped off with red, or vice versa, but that can happen. It can get kind of muddy looking. Right. Yeah, so we'll play that out. So I'm gonna, in the meantime here, while this is draining, I'm gonna get this top of the rad apart here. Just the fan shroud here. All right, we'll get this off. The rad support cover off. Make sure. So these are 10 mil. This is the error when kind of went standard and metric. Through here, 3, missing 1. That's all right. There we go. And set them there on the battery, and over here. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yeah. At least two here to the side. Just to mess you up, there's two, I think, two different threads. So yes, the bolts going into the rad support are a fine thread, and the ones that hold the rad support together to the bottom are a coarse thread. So something to pay attention to and remember, and hopefully I remember. So I got this other side done. Depending on how this works, I'm going to leave the mechanical fan in. The biggest issue is when it's hot out. We'll get up to 200, 210 degrees. If I got my air conditioning on, it's higher than that, go 220. And that's just a little bit above my comfort zone. I want to keep this around 190 if I can with the air conditioning running. Even on the highway it creeps up to 210, and I'm just not 100% comfortable with that. This is a factory rad, is a replacement rad. It was replaced about, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. I actually was running a shop, and this was one of my customers' cars. It was actually one of my tenants' cars, and I wound up buying it off him. Not like this, but it had a regular 305 in it, 3-speed automatic, like a turbo 200 or whatever. And you know the story on this car. It's a 350 dual quad bumper cam, Pontiac heads, 700 R4 tranny with a shift kit in it. All right, let's see if we can wiggle this out of the way without causing any kind of all right, so I'm going to remove that rad hose. That'll give me a little bit extra clearance. What I'm going to do, I'm thinking I'm just going to put some straight coolant hot water in here when I'm done with some water wetter. I think I got a little bit of green antifreeze kicking around. I'm going to run it like that, flush it, and then I'm going to dump it and fill it with the good stuff, which would be green 50-50 premix. All right. Just make sure I got some there. I try and keep the floor as clean as I can. Okay, there's not much there. We should be able to wiggle this out. There we go. Now, the only concern I have is, you can see how that sits in there, down at the bottom. So this just cradles it. The only concern I have is the transmission cooler line, the inlet line, or the outlet at least. If those fittings don't match the new rad, then I'm going to run these lines direct to the transmission cooler, which is right there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but right there. I'm going to run it direct and bypass the radiator. So we'll get that thing out and then move forward. All right. There it is, for the camera, staring right at me. Okay, so I've got the tranny lines unhooked. And next thing here is I got to get the lower rad hose unhooked, and then we're ready to pull this thing out. So almost there. All right, so rad hose is about to come off here. I'm doing it from the top as opposed to the bottom because I don't want a face full of coolant like that. Okay, so that's now effectively drained. Get the stuff out of the way. Okay. You know, I gotta tell you, when you see 2 guys and 3 bikes, you gotta wonder whether one's stolen or not. But I'm not going there. That's not what this video is about. The next thing here to do is, let's pull this rod out because it should be free. So, oh, get this, gotta get that off there. Get the overflow tube. So I just gotta go grab a pair of pliers. I'm not working in my normal garage. This is my spare garage, even though it's fairly well equipped for whatever I'm gonna do, but I don't have everything in here, but I do have most of the stuff in that garage right there. So let's go and get a pair of pliers. And then I have my other garage at the lake, which is my big one, and that's where I do most of my work. But considering if I run into a situation here with this car, I got easy access to stores, part stores and all that kind of stuff, even on a Sunday, as opposed to cottage where I don't. And I don't want to get stranded down there or prolong this job any longer than I have to. All right, let's get this out of here. Well, I wish I could blame somebody for the way they installed this, but unfortunately it was me. Pretty sure that was the last one on this. we go. Wiggle that off. There. That's done. And this should come out without any more fuss, providing we can get it around this pipe here, which should be fairly easy. Okay, so there's the radiator. It's gonna drip out, but everything else looks good. Fan, gonna leave that in there for now. I do have a set of electric fans for it, but until I see how this thing runs, if it runs cool enough, I'm not gonna put them in. I'll just keep that thing. All right, let's go get that other fan. All right, here's the new rad. So we got the ports for transmission cooler. That would be for a heater hose or whatever, bleeder. Actually, that'll be for, not sure. That would be for a heater hose. That's going to stay plugged. That's going to stay plugged. Well, depending on what's going on with these, if the fitting will fit, great. If not, which I know this one probably won't at this point, bottom one might. Top one's not. Oh, I'm flared. It might fit. It might fit. Where's the old rad to compare? It might fit. If it does, life is good. If not, then we just got to make some. Have to cut around it. So let's get it in. See how it fits. See how it works, and we'll play it out that way. So it should hopefully just drop in. You can see how much wider it is. When we compare this to the core to this one. See, this is double the width. So that should do the trick. Aluminum tanks, plastic tanks. So again, that's factory style rad. It's supposed to do what the factory intended it to do. But that is not what the factory intended it to do. So you gotta make things work with your setup. All right, let's get this in. Let's turn that, close it so we don't dump the water in there that we're gonna put in. There. This goes over. That's easy enough. That fits. Okay. Which means the bottom one should hopefully fit. Now, let's see what the transmission lines will do here. So this is the upper. Screw these out. Oh, we might just get lucky here. However, this is a barbed fitting. And well, I can probably screw it in there. But before I do, I'm going to get some Teflon tape and put that on there, or a PST. So be back here in just one sec. Okay, so I've got PSD, and I got tape. I prefer PSD because PSD doesn't come apart, it won't go through the system. I just don't know how much of this I got left. This is probably been in my toolbox for 10 years. Well, I got enough. You don't need much. But what you want is, you got brass and aluminum. You don't want any kind of dissimilar metals creating electrolysis and then corrosion. And if you ever got to do anything, they're stuck. So we get some. There we go. And we'll just spread that around the threads. You don't have to go all the way around, but as you turn it in, it'll coat the threads. But I'm gonna spread it around myself. Now, I think this is a 1/2 inch. Yeah. Okay. It's a little awkward getting this in with so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a razor and cut that, because I don't want to cross thread this and it's a little awkward doing it that way. So we'll do that and then get that in. Maybe I'll get the bottom one in first just because I got a little bit more clearance. Okay, I'm going to cut this, hopefully without cutting myself. Actually, I'll just use my side snips on this. Okay. And then we'll slice this open. Hopefully you can see that. That's the fitting there. So realistically, don't need the hose clamp on this, but just for a little bit of insurance and for what it's worth, it's a little bit of extra insurance so you don't run into an issue. You certainly don't want to lose your transmission fluid over a stupid hose clamp. Alright, so that goes in nice.
Any use
Hi.
for 2 glass tiles?
Nope. Not unless I'm building an art car.
I do have some guitar picks that I found that I will.
Guitar picks?
Yeah, I'll give you.
Those I could always use. Yeah. Yeah. Those would work. Okay, so it's not a 1/2 inch. Okay, something tells me well, it's going in there, but let's just make sure this is the right thread. It's not that deep, so I think that'll work. Yeah, just snug it up. Okay, don't go too tight with aluminum. Then let's get the bottom one in before I put that hose on. And again, we're going to put some PST on there. That's already coated with some tranny fluid on there, so probably going to be okay. But okay, so one issue that I found, not major, but something that could present, is that this could potentially rub up against here and there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some rubber hose, I'm going to cut it, and I'm just going to line that and that, just to insulate it and keep it from potentially wearing through the radiator. So I'll cut a piece off here. Slice it through. This is just fuel line or whatever, nothing special. Now, the key to do this is to do this without slicing your fingers open. Especially this hand when I play guitar. That's my finger picking. So that will go like that. Should stay on. If it doesn't, I'll come up with another solution. But we're going to go with that for now. And this is a smaller one, so I'm going to cut a smaller hose here. And do the same thing. Several cuts as opposed to one deep cut. There we go. There. I don't know where it's going to hit or not, but there's potential for it to hit. The nice thing here is the drain petcock is on the outside of the radiator. It's still a little, it's kind of hit. It's still got a little bit of clearance there, so it's kind of where I was afraid it would be on this side. It's on that side, so that's good. All right. What next? We're going to make sure that that's tight. This kind of thing doesn't really super excite me, because there's a chance that eventually that could corrode or dry out, wear out, whatever, cause a leak, or blow out, cause a leak. But I want to make sure that it is tight, because that's just the, oops, maybe that is a 5/16. Nope. What do I got here? Don't tell me that thing's metric. 9/32. I don't think I've ever used a 9/32 socket before. So I'll make sure that that's good and snug. Okay, so that's good. It's not going anywhere. Okay, I think that's it. We'll put the cover on. Wiggle this in and put the hoses up, and I think we're ready to go. Might have to go on top of that, but let's see. There we go. Wrong way. The right way. What's that catching on? There we go. Piece of cake. So you just gotta come this way. That's really the first issue. Is oh, there we go. That should work. There we go. Okay, we're gonna make this, it's a little, okay, because this is bigger. So we've got these rubber insulators in here. These bits here, they're creating a clearance issue, so we'll pull these out. You can see a little too small. Okay, so doesn't hurt to have spares. We'll try this again. Okay, so they still are a little tight, but those will match up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put self-tappers through here. I have clearance, I don't have, yeah, I'm going to run some self-tappers through here, here, and here. Looks like that tap broke off already, so we're going to leave that. This will fit in here. So we're going to do that and then bolt it up. So, one of those things. But I'm going to go get my impact gun and we'll burn those through. So we'll catch up here in a little bit. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm getting the top bolted to the bottom. That way it'll match the bottom. Like I'm not gonna have a fitment issue on the bottom at least. And then I'm gonna slide the upper rad hose on here and get a good idea as to where this thing's gonna be setting. Okay, so it's gonna go like that. This is there. So this sits back, if you can see. This is where it was. This is where it's going to kind of be. I'm going to let this sit further back because I don't want any interference if I can at all avoid it. So it's going to be like that. I'll zap 3 bolts in. It looks like I broke that tab off there. But I've got these self tappers, 12 by 3/4. Get 3 of those. Zap them in. And that's just kind of that's the only thing I got to do on this. This is nothing. So my only concern is that, but I've got enough clearance between this and the AC condenser that won't be. I'm afraid I might drill through the AC condenser. But that ain't going to be a problem. And okay, I got to get a proper 5/16 socket here for 3/8 FET. So we'll be back in a sec here. Okay, don't have a 3/8 5/16, so I have a 3/8 2/4 adapter. So that's what we're going to go with. I need that. This old gun's getting worn out, but it's got to be one of the nicest, best ones I've got. So this is good. We got clearance on the fan. We're just going to drill into here. Wow, that was easy. Not much strength to the metal on these things. Oh, I see what's happened. This tab is folded over, so I just got to get that wiggled out of there. There we go. Okay, so that's out of the way. That's garbage. Okay, do this again. One. It's only going in halfway. It's not wanting to go any further. No, it's in. Good enough. All right. Now, I'll hook the lower rad hose up and fill it up with water. As I said, I'm going to run water wetter and straight water, whatever's in the block. We're going to run that, and then I'm going to flush it out. But I want to get it flushed through the system, and when I get out to the cottage, actually, where I got better access to the stuff, I'll jack this up. I'll drain the block. I'll drain the radiator. I'll drain the complete cooling system. And I'll just flush water through it as needed. So this is going to be it. Next picture here will be this thing running full of water. It's running out of batteries anyhow, so I got to get this charged up. So catch up in a little bit. All right, so I got it full. So I used 2 of those. I got some old heavy duty coolant from when I used to work at a Mack truck dealer. I used about a quarter of that. It's red, it's not green. I prefer the green, but this will do for now. So I'm going to be flushing it. Now what I'm going to do before I go out and dry this thing and then wind up with a leak, a potential leak, and then get stranded, I've got a pressure tester. So I'm going to pressure test the system. See if we got any leaks. I don't see anything dripping, but we'll get this up to 15 pounds here, and then if that's tight, then I'll run it, top it up. So I got water wetter. You can hear something. Okay, got 20. It might just be pushing water through the system. No visible leaks. Okay. Okay, so what I'm hearing is actually not from here. It's from this area, and you can see some coolant dripping down there. And there has been a leak there before. I haven't really dealt with it, but okay, it's leaking at the thermostat housing, so let's give that a snug. Those are 9/16. Go in here, snug that. It's pretty tight. This one. bit of a snug. Yeah, I'm not really hearing anything now. So yeah, it might have settled. So when I drain it, I got to change that gasket on that thermostat. I think at this point we're good. I'm gonna clean up everything, start her up, top it up, and then go for a drive and see how it works. So we'll see ya. Okay, so I've been tooling around a little bit, and right now it's not a hot day, but we're running about 160 degrees. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna go out on the highway. Turn the air conditioning on, see how we do, and then I'm going to drive it back through the city, do some stop and go with AC on, see where it sits. So stay tuned. Okay, so I got the AC on, I'm on the highway. It's about there, 98, just under 180. And it seems to be holding pretty steady, although I just turned the AC on. So we're up to highway speed, 100 kilometers an hour. Still 180. Air conditioning's working good. It is cold out. Cold. It is cooler out. It's not as hot as it's been. It's probably in the mid 70s right now. Disgusting antifreeze, I don't think it's helping anything, so that's going to get flushed out probably tomorrow, or real soon. Probably still 180. Now we're in the town, in the city, so we're going to hit some stop and go. Coming up to a red light to see what happens here. Okay, I just finished a 25, well, I'll say 30-minute test drive. Most of it with the AC on, and we are running at a little under 210, which is probably 10 degrees cooler than what it normally would with the AC on. I guess the real kicker here is that I typically wouldn't use the AC because all I'm doing is staring at the gauge and watching it creep up, and probably by now it'd be at 220, 225, maybe even pushing 230. And it seems to be stabilizing there. So I'm going to count this one down as a win. The only thing I got to do here is next is clean that, or flush the antifreeze, the cooling system, get some clean coolant in there, and then you might even see a little bit better cooling efficiency. So we'll call that a win for today, and very shortly, within the next day or two, I'm going to flush the cooling system, and then we'll go for a drive and see what happens, and then we'll call it complete. Okay, here's where we're at right now. Everything's buttoned up, everything's tight, no leaks, basically running straight water and whatever residual antifreeze is in the system. But I'm not comfortable with the lack of antifreeze because for corrosion issues. So I'm going to dump it one more time, and then I got some 50 or some straight concentrate. See here, all makes Prestone antifreeze, which will be compatible with whatever. If I got to top up anything, at least this will be easy to find. Come fall, I'll dump everything, put a proper amount of antifreeze in it to get it through winter, But as it stands right now, this will suffice for summer. The other issue is I'm running out of buckets. I've got way too much antifreeze here kicking around, and that's not including stuff that I spilled. So this will be the last dump and fill, and I got to get some containers to dump that in, which I have at my other garage, and we will transfer all that into those, and then I'll take them to a dump site here in the city where they take used antifreeze, and that'll be it for now. I have driven this thing quite, several times. It 180 thermostat in there now. The other one, as I said there, it was sucked up into the thermostat housing. I use a different housing where I don't know what I did. Here we are. This is the old housing. As you can see, it's total round here. The one I put in has little kickouts here, which will keep that thermostat located. So should there be a surge or a bubble or something like that, it's not going to push it up and into the housing. And that's what I think happened with this one. So with a 180, it runs at 180, 190 with the AC on. It's still running about 190, maybe a little bit higher, but it's steady and it's not always kind of constantly creeping up. And I've driven it quite a bit with the AC on, which I wouldn't do previous, and it's working pretty good, so I'm happy with that. So I'm going to dump it, fill it, take it. I got to head out to my other garage, get some containers, and then I'll deal with all this used antifreeze and go from there. This will be it. So we'll do one more highway trip here. We'll see how it goes, and then move on to the next project. Thanks for watching, and hit that subscribe button. Don't unsubscribe, hit subscribe. I seem to be losing subscribers, but that's probably due to these videos being too long and somewhat on the boring side. So whatever. Anyhow, it's just the documentation of what I'm doing, so at least if nothing else I can go back and refer to what I did to the car. But anyhow, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, and hopefully we'll share some more videos.